All right, folks, this is Harris Sultan. I cannot stress enough to my American audience, do not be complacent. Yes, you have Trump in office and you may think that the tide has turned, but remember this, you are one election away from finding yourself in the same position that Europe is in today. There are literally hundreds of millions of Europeans who are not happy with the Islamization of their continent, but they're stuck. Politically, they can't do anything because once institutions tilt in a certain direction, once migration policies harden up in one direction, once the bureaucracy shifts in one direction, then it becomes almost impossible to reverse the direction. That's exactly what's happened with Europe. Despite so many right-wing, or what they call far right-wing political parties resurging, they still are nowhere near reversing this migration crisis or de-Islamifying the UK. There's so many people in Europe, they are so disheartened and disillusioned with their democracies that they're looking to leave. And what are they leaving their countries to? People who are actually taking over their countries. So that can create a downward spiral in America as well, where you may find yourself stuck. I'm not saying that you're there yet. Muslims only make up 2% of it, but we can see the same decay in slow motion and on a smaller scale 20 years ago in Europe. The liberal secular Europe said, that's okay. You can open up your mosques any way you want. You can give any kind of sermons to your people. What happened? Within 20, 30 years, they raised a generation of Muslims that was completely anti-West. They hate the countries, the civilization that they live in. They don't see themselves as part of Western civilization. They see them as part of the Muslim community who have a responsibility to spread Sharia. This is not fear-mongering. This is pattern-backed prediction. We have a live case study in front of us. It's called Europe.
Very simple. No integration, no multiculturalism, no diversity, no tolerance. I got my own deen, you got your own deen. You got your democracy, we got our own Sharia. You got your own free mixing, we got our own nikah. Own cheating within the marketplace, your own credit cards. We got our own economic system. We got our own foreign policy. We got our own deen.
You know how Islam became so dominant in Europe? They brought in preachers. They gave preacher visas to all kinds of preachers. And as we know about Islam, Islam is such a violent ideology that even the peaceful preachers can't refrain themselves from talking about jihad and rallying their troops and spreading the central message of Islam, which is to spread the deen of Allah, the religion of Allah. That's how it started in Europe. And that's exactly what's happening in America today. These people are highly ideologically driven. They believe in it. You can't buy them. You can't deter them. They believe in their delusion so firmly that they will stop at no cost unless you become strong. What do I mean by that? Look at this Imam in America. He's sitting in Michigan, and have a listen to his sermon. He's saying that Muslims are superiors to the infidels, meaning all of you Americans, 98% of you Americans. This Muslim is telling them that him and a tiny, tiny segment of the American population is superior to the rest of Americans. How can you live with these people when they harbor these kind of views? The American view is, this is a land of opportunities. We don't care about your skin color, where you've come from. If you have come to America, prove yourself, prove your worth. That's American value. America does not have a lens to look at people. It optimizes productivity, competition, entrepreneurship, prosperity, all the good things that we know about America. But now you have a culture within your country that prioritizes loyalties on the basis of religious lines, sectarian lines. This is a challenge, my dear Americans. Have a listen to him.
Look at the system that we live under.
Why do you live here then if it's such a bad system?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in the Quran, he talks about, he uses the word batil. System of the kuffar is batil.
Batil means it's evil, it's wicked. The system of the infidels, the American system, the British system, the system of the West, the world order that we live in, it's wicked, it's evil.
Anybody know what that word means? Batil? Batil meaning it is it is unaccepted
It's
over
wicked.
the unbelievers that the Muslims always have of the unbelievers, and that is we should not fear death. And
It's
that
a death cult, guys. Another key difference. We value life. We believe in maximizing our life, live a good, healthy, prosperous life. Go out there, make money, enjoy your life, travel the world, look out for other people. That's our worldview. Their worldview is you should be willing to die at any moment in the cause of Allah. That's the difference. I'm not saying every Muslim is willing to die, because obviously self-preservation is a real human biological phenomena that conquers everyone. But as an ideology, it shames those people who are not willing to die for Allah, and it glorifies those people who are willing to die for Allah. That's why Osama bin Laden was buried at sea, because Muslims revere him. They're like, wow, what a hero. He took on the biggest superpower of his time in a cave, and he was not afraid to die. He dedicated his life. You have to understand these cultural views because they matter. I am a big believer now that people who grow up under certain cultures, they grow up with certain values, and those values shape their behaviors. And it's very difficult for people to change their behavior, especially on a societal level. If you have a society that believes in some things as virtuous and some other things as batil, as wicked, then that person has grown up for 20, 30, 40 years with those beliefs. How is he going to go to the US and all of a sudden say, oh, these people allow homosexuals, these people allow their women to go to nightclubs and party, or these people have predatory banking practices, or whatever, however they view it. They view it and they say, well, this is wicked. And then they start blaming their failures, the failures of their governments, of their countries, on America and on the West. And that creates this vicious rabbit hole of grievances.
that lack of fear of death is what has always given us power over them. I remember years ago, Ronald Reagan, a situation where somebody had jumped into a vehicle, I think it was in Africa, and they ran the vehicle into this huge building and blew it up and killed a whole bunch of people. And they came to Ronald Reagan to ask him about that. And he said, and I'm not a good imitator, he said, well, he said, how in the world do you expect to stop a man who is sitting in a truck full of explosives and he's running into a building saying, God is great? I mean, he couldn't understand that.
Yeah, he couldn't understand that because we value life. We haven't created mindless barbarians who are willing to blow themselves up in a brutal manner over a political cause. Yeah, we can't wrap our heads around it. That's not bravery. That's brainwashing to the point of suicide. He basically just glorified suicide bombing. Sitting in Michigan, you know, one of the greatest values of America is free speech. But I genuinely think that we should not give free speech rights to those people who don't believe in free speech. Because social contract works on if we agree on certain basic principles. If you don't agree with our constitution, if you're openly saying that this system, this entire system, which includes your constitution as well, is wicked, and we need to end this, we need to replace it with something better, then sorry, if you're not standing by our constitution, then we're not going to afford you its luxuries or the rights that are ensured by this document. We're not going to give them to you. We will need to start new penal colonies. We'll have to. Because yes, we cannot kill people for harboring stupid views like this man, but we cannot live with these people too. We're going to have to find a new way. Laws are always changing. Values are always evolving. I think we're going to need penal colonies where we will drop these people. Go build your Islamic paradise over there. I guarantee you, within months, you'll start seeing horrible videos of people getting amputated, being burned alive, kind of like what ISIS did, because that's the kind of society Islam creates. I say it again, there is nothing that ISIS did that Muhammad or his companions did not do. Everything that we see in ISIS was sourced from Islamic scriptures.
When you reach that level where your love of this world is replaced by the love of the hereafter, and therefore the removal of the fear of death is no longer there. You got the edge. The Walham is taken. The softness is taken. All these things are important.
We have observed this phenomena, though, the preachers or the clerics who brainwash these people into suicide bombing, they themselves never do it or their children never do it. That's also quite something. So this guy, this Imam, is glorifying suicide bombing, but I bet he's not going to take part in that, nor is he going to encourage his kids to take part in that. So they look at who is the stupidest among our followers. Who is the stupidest that we can convince to blow himself up? So they pick those ones and then they say, see, look how brave we are. No, in reality, they were successful in shortlisting the stupidest of their people who are willing to blow up for 72 virgins, which they're obviously not going to get.
The original plan that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to his creation is caliphate. The Khalifa is the policeman of the planet. So all those badges you see, you know, FBI and Homeland Security, you know.
Khalifa is a dictator. So the Islamic State, there should be only one. The Islamic State is governed by a Khalifa, by a Caliph. So basically, that's their dictator, Secretary General, basically.
Don't mean anything. The only title that means something is the caliphate, because that is the title that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established and said that this progeny, this successorship that goes all the way back to Adam, alayhi wa salatu salam, they will be the policemen of the planet. So in order for that policeman to exist, there had to be a perfect system. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, he gave, in the beginning, he sent the caliphate to the Anbiya, to the prophethood. And each prophet brought a brick that added to this house. Maybe they established Jihad over here, and Sheikh Al-Bani, rahimahullah, his position was that, you know, that might be Farq Kafaya, you know, for some cause that exists in that particular land. But real Jihad must take place on a world scale. Why?
Did you hear that? The real Jihad must take place on a world scale. That's what he means. So when they say globalize the Intifada, that's the underlying meaning. And we have these woke lunatics who shout globalize the Intifada. Oh, Intifada just means uprising. An armed uprising. Jihad. And I don't know why ordinary Westerners are so gullible that they think that a civilization that has been at war with them for the last 1400 years, this charade of us two civilizations can live peacefully, that only emerged after the end of World War I, when the Ottomans were completely humiliated. And the old world order completely died because that gave birth to the concept of nation states. Muslims got divided. And that's why there is a great sense within the Muslim world that the whole idea of nation states was to destroy the Islamic empire, was to defeat Islam. And now we are divided. Now we're not together. That's why you hear some voices of pan-Islamism. That's the goal of the Muslim Brotherhood. And that's what they want. So when you have a one big Islamic empire, just think about it for a moment. I don't think it's going to work. It cannot work because the idea is so archaic that it just cannot work in the modern world. Even civilized people like the Europeans cannot make one strong, united entity like the EU. There are too many countries, too many people, too many differences. So you can't have Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Pakistan and Indonesia and Turkey all acting as one federal government. They just can't do it. They would assassinate the Khalifa. So it cannot work. But that is their goal. That is their inspiration, which is why we will win. These fuckers are not going to win. But they will remain as a nuisance. They will keep biting our ankles. They will keep annoying us. They will keep glorifying suicide bombers. They will keep doing this. The worst part is they have enough numbers within our countries that they can actually hurt us. As they are hurting this whole Israel versus Palestine fiasco. 30 years ago, none of this would have happened. None of this would have happened. But it is happening now because they know that they have enough numbers in London, in New York. Oh.
Real jihad must take place on a world scale. Why? Because to establish, the purpose of jihad is to establish Dar-ul-Islam. What is Dar-ul-Islam? Dar-ul-Islam is the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's his system.
Sharia. So basically what he's saying, that every Muslim, we should wage jihad on a global scale. And the reason we do it is because Islam sees the world from two lenses. Dar-ul-Islam, meaning the house of Islam, and Dar-ul-Harb, meaning the house of war. So currently, the Middle East, Pakistan, Indonesia, these are Dar-ul-Islam already. You guys, America and Europe and South America, you are Dar-ul-Harb, meaning house of war or house of jihad. And we have to wage that jihad so that Dar-ul-Harb, meaning the house of war, turns into the house of Islam, Dar-ul-Islam. That's what he's saying. Sitting in America. Please don't allow this. This cancer will spread. This is more dangerous than communism in a way. Though actually, I can't decide which one. Because communists start off with a really morally superior position in their own minds. But then they spill blood like it would make any dictator proud. Like Stalin or Hitler level cruelty they could show. But these guys can show equal level of cruelty too, because they are also as dogmatic in their beliefs as the communists.
And under that system, it is so fair that it says it has created this piece called the dhimmi piece.
That's you.
And dhimmis are those who are outside the religion, the Jews and the Christians.
Oh, the video ended at that point. So he says that once we have converted Dar-ul-Harb, i.e. America, which is the house of war, house of jihad, once we've converted that into Dar-ul-Islam, then we will have the dhimmis. Dhimmis are second and third class citizens. They are lower than women in Islam. So dhimmis are Jews and Christians. Polytheists don't even get this option. Polytheists either have to convert to Islam or be put to the sword. So dhimmis pay an extra amount of tax that the Caliph can decide. It can be 40%, 50%. All the while Muslims only pay 2.5% zakat. And which is also very low. It just cannot work in modern nation states, but obviously Muhammad didn't understand modern economics. So that is the nature of it, guys. This is America. I have other videos to play, but this video has been going on for a while. There is a bit of a pushback. So let me just read some of the tweets from important people like Representative Keith Self. I love this guy too. 4 in 10 Muslims say they want Sharia in the US. Can you believe this, guys? This is 40%. For any revolution to work, you only need about 2 to 3% of foot soldiers. Only a few thousand. Maybe if you have tens of thousands of people working on a conspiracy to overthrow a government, then that can be a very difficult challenge for any government to handle, okay? But look at this, 4 in 10 Muslims. That's 40%. These numbers are scary. They should scare you because their numbers are going to grow. I don't know. I think there's about 4 or 5 million Muslims in the United States right now. So that's already 1 million plus Muslims that you have who think that there should be Sharia in the US. That's a lot of numbers. 1 million plus Muslims who believe that there should be Sharia in the US. And that guy, the one I played you, is actively telling them that your job is to be waging jihad. Your job should be working towards converting the United States into the house of Islam. And he's not the only Imam. Let me see what he's saying. We have seen how state-enforced Sharia functions in countries such as Iran, Iraq, Nigeria, and Saudi Arabia. So we know that. Women are beaten and forced to wear full body coverings. Girls as young as 9 are permitted to be married. Christians are persecuted and killed for their faith, and the churches are burned down. Under Sharia, there are no individual freedoms. Absolutely. There's no free speech under Sharia, okay? There isn't, none. Even the most liberal of Muslims will not tell you this. America must remain governed by the Constitution and the rule of law and its secular principles. My dear America, this scares me. We have seen France fall. We have seen the UK fall. The West cannot afford the United States to even be weakened one bit. This is a civilizational level struggle, guys. This is bigger than your S&P index, cost of living crisis, price of eggs, Greenland. This is bigger than all of that. Look at this. This guy in Florida. Look what he's saying. Look at the conspiracy. They're announcing it.
There's nearly 7 million
Oh,
Americans.
I said 4.5 million. There's 7 million American Muslims. 7 million. And what's 40% of that? 2.5 million and more Muslims believe that America should have Sharia. You know, Afghanistan, the Taliban just legalized slavery because Islam doesn't respect the UN. Islam doesn't acknowledge international law, that they're telling you that, oh, according to international law, this land belongs to the people of Palestine. No, Islam doesn't believe in that. They're only using that until it serves them. They have their own set of values. They have their own laws. They have their own Sharia, and they're telling you that's what they want. So all the black Americans understand this. The Taliban just legalized slavery because there is a Quranic verse that says that even the Prophet himself cannot criminalize something that Allah has deemed illegal, such as sex slavery, such as wife beating, all of these things. Even the Prophet cannot change. It is a unanimously agreed upon position. So what makes you think that these people who already say that we want Sharia in the US will look the other way? So don't give me that BS that so many Muslims don't believe in that. Yeah, but they're irrelevant. You think they're going to be standing with you against their Muslim brothers? Why don't we see these lipstick Muslims condemning the grooming gangs in the UK? Why don't they speak up against them? Because they can't. A Muslim cannot snitch on his fellow Muslim who is working for Allah. These people are working for Allah.
American Muslims right now, alhamdulillah.
Let's take gratitude in the fact that we're here in the great state of Florida.
Part of power building is building a pipeline of leaders. I want to see, inshallah, one day governor of the state of Florida is a Muslim. Everybody say inshallah. The House has Muslims in there. Say inshallah. Senators, Muslim senators, say inshallah.
Muslims.
Please don't allow this. Don't allow this.
Are men who defend themselves, they defend their religion, they defend their principles, what they believe in. They don't apologize about jihad. They're not afraid of jihad. It's a part of who we are. The Muslim is an individual who, part of his rojula, being a man, is not our wives do jihad. We do jihad.
There's 7
There goes your DEI. DEI, who would have thought DEI is going to be the first casualty of Islamism? I just hope that more and more Americans realize that this problem is coming. It's not going to go away. And 4 years of a Democrat presidency, it will push America to the edge. It has put Europe to the edge. The right-wing conservative movements haven't even established a strong foothold. They're still facing monumental challenges. And some people think that we may not even be able to reverse the course. What do you do with millions of Muslim citizens? What do you do? I say we are headed towards a possibility when people's citizenships will be cancelled and they will be deported to their ancestral countries. This is very unmodern, but the way things are going, that would be the peaceful option. Otherwise, it's going to be civil war in the 21st century. And we have AI knocking on the door. We've got robots. Oh my God, this world is going to be a pretty messed up place unless we put the foot down now.